Yeah, we are going to look at introduction to MySQL. Now, SQL or SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and SQL is a relational database that we use to interact with the databases, and we use MySQL to perform several operations to our database. As we had said earlier, a database is a platform whereby we store our data. And after we store our data, we need a software that is going to enable us to manipulate our data. And the software that we use is SQL, Structured Query Language. What do we use SQL to do? We use MySQL to perform operations like inserting new data. You are searching for new data. You are updating for new data. And also maybe you want to delete data in the database. And one of the softwares that we use for MySQL, in our case here, we are going to use a MySQL Workbench. We are going to use MySQL Workbench. And the statements that we use in SQL, they help us to interact in the database. For example, I want to perform several operations using my SQL Workbench. I will open my Workbench and I have my databases here. I want to use a statement like selecting records from the database. You should note this. Whenever you are using SQL commands, ensure they are in uppercase and you terminate your statement with semicolon. Else, you're going to generate an error. I have a database called SQL Store. SQL Store. For me to use that database, I have to use the command use. Then I write the database name, SQL Store. Then I add with a semicolon. If I execute this statement by clicking on this button, my SQL database will be highlighted in bold, and that shows it is active. As we have said, we use MySQL to perform several manipulations like inserting, selecting, deleting records from our database, because our database is one that stores data. Having written that, I can now go and write a command. Maybe I want to select. It's always a good practice to use capital letters. I want to select all the records from the tables that I have. I have a table called customers, so ensure that I write the correct table name, customers. Then I execute that. Then I execute that. So once this is executed, you will find we are able, using this command, to generate all the records that are stored in table customers. Back to our manual, we were saying this is a simple code, what we have tried to do. We have used this code to select all the customers from our database. But we have to keep some of the links in mind. So SQL keywords are not sensitive, meaning you can write both in capital letters and small letters. But as I said, it's always a good practice to use in capital letters. Always ensure in your statements you add with a semicolon. You'll find some database management systems, some will require a semicolon to terminate the statement, and others might not require. As we continue interacting with the database, remember we have said we need MySQL to perform operations like selecting, updating, deleting, creating database, altering tables, creating tables, or even deleting tables. And here are some of the most common commands that we shall be using. The select command is used to extract all the data from the database. The update command is used to update the records in the database. You want to delete a record, you use the delete command. Insert new data into a database. Create database, it creates a new database. To alter database, you are modifying the database and you are creating the table, you can create the table. But note in mind, we always use MySQL Workbench to perform several operations. As we have said, we use this statement. Like now we have the select all from our table customers. And after we execute, we get the output. After we execute, we get the output. So you find after I execute this code, this is the output that I get. After I execute this code, this is the output that we get. Thank you.